My name is Doug Yarholer. My company is Metal Roof Contractors. We are located in Edmond, Oklahoma. The main problem is trying to plan or predict cash flow. So typically if we're 30 days out, we're very fortunate. We're starting to see 60 days as far as payment. So, we've got procedures. If we pass certain days, which is very regular now, it just takes a lot of effort to make sure that we're collecting and getting paid on time. We've been relatively fortunate in that we've been able to mostly cash flow everything, but still very irritating that the person on the other side doesn't have the same urgency that we have.
Okay, and have you had to put somebody specifically in charge of collecting with that system?
Yes, we've got an accountant or bookkeeper. So she job costs, but that's part of her role is to collect, or
okay.
at least attempt to collect.
Yeah, and how much time would you say each week that person is spending in collections? On average, about an hour
Probably
each
about
week?
An hour a week.
Okay.
That's
all right.
Sending out statements or correspondence as far as payment status update, and then discussing it in a weekly cash flow meeting.
Okay. And so now I know over the past several months, actually over this last year, you've been making a move into starting to take on clients that you are not invoicing. Tell me about some of that movement and how that has worked and the value of that for you.
Sure. We still send out invoices, but the payment turnaround is much quicker. So it's not necessarily tied up in public money either. So I don't know if that's the issue. But it's more of a private source, and the terms are negotiated up front. So a lot of times when we get payment on a public side, we've got to invoice. Invoices got to make it through the architect, get approved, go through a board or a group of individuals who then have to approve it again, then cut a check to our customer. Then our customer has to cut a check to us. Whereas now we invoice owner, and owner pays us. So I assume maybe that's the turnaround time difference, but much shorter, much easier, much more defined. So we know
Okay.
if we're not getting paid, we know who the source is.
Okay. And what was it like? I know when I first introduced this idea to you, there was a little bit like, Clay, I don't think that'll work in my company, in my industry, But tell me a little bit about what the transition has been like as you have started to move toward getting your money quicker through these private clients, and specifically, Doug, with the addition of private clients rather than just all public.
Oh, I think the appeal is the control. So on the public side, a lot of that's bid work. So slow pay is definitely an issue, but also I have no control when a public entity wants to put out a job to bid. On the other side, private side, there's less steps in getting paid, and there is some control. We can set up systems to seek work, to find leads, and go get the work. So to me, that's the appeal. We'll never leave the public work because we're in a market such that we're in demand. So that's still good work for us. But there's some work on the public side that we've been forced to take in the past that's not really our business model, and it's hard to do. It's irritating. It's hard to schedule. So the idea of having control over a schedule, control over who our customer is, and it's just a matter of us going and getting it, is very attractive.
Yeah, and how have you? What kind of changes have you had to make in being able to go after that private work and that work that pays faster? What have you had to do differently to get that kind of work versus what you were doing before?
We've had to be intentional and create procedures. So, I mean, which sounds pretty obvious, but it's just a matter of scheduling time to run through steps that we use to acquire work or acquire leads. And then it's just a function of being routine with it. Make sure that we're tracking who we're calling, how we're calling, what's the result. You know, if we're not getting a result that we want, we can change it. So I would say probably a more organized and intentional approach has really been the only change.
Okay.
With the same set of people, so.
Yeah. With the same set of people on your team, you mean?
Correct.
Yeah. Okay. Well, all right. And let's see. Have you, in the last year, how much money have you been able to close on with this new direction, adding this new direction to your company model?
To date, it's roughly around $800,000 that we've signed contracts for with private work. So some of those were already existing customers, but it's still the same process for us.
Yeah. Okay. Fantastic.
And that, you know, I'd say there's still, you know, work that we're in the hunt for and really have our sights set on.
Yeah. And then let's see, Doug. I'm gonna ask you a question about the Dream 100. Okay.
Yeah.
And have this private work that you've been getting, has any of that been coming through the Dream 100 that you've been doing?
Yes.
Okay.
Through our
right.
Dream
Yeah.
100. Through our Dream 100, I'd say roughly about $80,000 has come from Dream 100, which there's still, like I said, there's some sales out there that we haven't closed yet, and we're still learning on what's best practice. But really feel like that's a great opportunity to expand our network. So while we may not be closing contracts with them right now, we feel we've got the opportunity in the future.
Okay. And what advice or what encouragement would you give to another contractor that's in this space where they've been doing primarily public work, either public work or they've had in their business model is the invoice process? What encouragement would you say to somebody that's in that kind of that model, and we have invited them to step over into not invoicing? What kind of encouragement would you give to somebody that's sitting there going, "Oh, that would never work for me"?
Yeah, well, if it were my competition, I would tell them not to give it a shot. No, I think if the end game is to have control over your sales flow, what comes in, then it just takes a little extra work up front. It takes a little organization, but a little taste of it really gives you the motivation to keep going. And for me, it's about that control. It's about tracking, and I know that if I do this many times, we're going to have the shot at this much work. So for me, and we'll never, like I said, you don't have to leave. You can pick what you want to from the public side, but this gives you the control. This gives you the freedom to really focus in on what you do well and what you can make money at.